The invitation arrived in her usual dramatic flourish, folded and stamped with gold lettering, a subtle reminder that she was always watching, always judging. Easter brunch, she wrote. Family gathering. Perfect. I stared at the envelope, fingers tightening around it, a ritual anxiety I had grown to recognize as the precursor to chaos. I knew what awaited me. Her smile, sharp-edged, like a blade wrapped in silk, the glances of cousins who never dared meet my eyes, whispers that drifted through the room like smoke, curling into corners I couldn't avoid. I arrived on Sunday, clutching my coat like armor. She greeted me with the same casual warmth that always preceded a storm. "You look well," she said, voice light, eyes calculating. I smiled. Politeness was my shield, my first line of defense. We sat. The food was ordinary ham, potatoes, bread, but somehow it always seemed to acquire gravity in her presence. Conversations started and stopped, laughter punctuated by her sudden silence, as if the room waited for her to decide which heartbeat deserved air. Then, just as I reached for the mashed potatoes, she spoke. Her tone was deceptively soft, casual, like commenting on the rain outside. "You really think you're the reason everything falls apart, don't you?" Her finger hovered over the table for a moment, then tapped lightly on the edge, like a gavel. I felt the room shrink. My cousins froze mid-laugh. My uncle cleared his throat. Even the chandelier seemed to tremble above us. I didn't defend myself. I didn't plead. I simply exhaled and let the words settle like dust. "Leave," she added. Quietly, I did. Walking to my car, I remembered simpler times. My mother used to braid my hair before school, humming hymns that smelled faintly of rosewater and laundry soap. Her hands would tug too hard sometimes, leaving me with red lines across my scalp. "You're my anchor," she'd whisper afterward, smiling as if the pain was proof of love. Anchors hold ships steady, I learned later, but they also sink with them. And she, I realized, had never wanted to steady me. She wanted to tether me, to bind me to a narrative where I carried her failures and her fears, willingly. The first cracks were subtle. My brother stopped replying to my texts. Cousins avoided my gaze. Whispers carried through hallways and living rooms. Fragments of sentences that made my stomach twist. "She's always been unstable. You know what her mother said." I dismissed it at first, blaming imagination, paranoia, but then a coworker asked, gently, "I heard your mom is worried about your condition." The word condition hung in the air, venomous. Depression, unstable. My mother had spun a story, delicate, precise, drip by drip, until it was everywhere, invisible yet suffocating. By Easter, I understood the truth. She didn't want me gone. She wanted me to beg for forgiveness for crimes I had never committed. She wanted to feel omnipotent. Power, I realized, was her religion, and power evaporates when its worshipper is ignored. So I stopped. No calls, no texts, no explanations. Silence became my rebellion. And in that silence, I began building. Step 1. Gather evidence. Every manipulative message forwarded to relatives. Every voicemail twisted to make me seem fragile. Work records, therapy notes, documentation of a life she tried to rewrite. Step 2. Share strategically. Not to plead, not to justify, but to illuminate. I compiled it all in a single, precise packet and sent it to everyone her stories had touched, letting the facts speak where my voice had been ignored. Step 3. Retreat. People panic when control slips. My mother's messages started calm, became frantic, then angry. But I didn't respond. Step 4. Escalate. Legally. My father, long estranged, became a quiet ally, my evidence reshaping his understanding of decades of deceit. What had been whispers, what had been insinuations, became proof of emotional manipulation, of a campaign designed to tarnish a child's life. Weeks later, she arrived at my apartment. I heard her voice before I saw her, slicing down the hall like glass. "Open this door. How could you do this to me?" I met her at the threshold, calm, steady. She expected pleading, tears, shame. I gave her none. "I just stopped letting you ruin me," I said. Her face contorted in disbelief. Anger turned to fear, realization blooming slowly, painfully. I was no longer the anchor she controlled. I had cut the rope. She screamed, begged, tried every manipulation, every tactic I had endured for years. None worked. I closed the door softly, quietly, and for the first time in my life, I felt relief, not guilt, not fear. Power, I realized, wasn't in retaliation. It was in absence, in the unspoken, in truth carried quietly, letting consequences fall naturally. The weeks that followed were a strange, delicate healing. Family gatherings became easier, strangers to me now more trustworthy than those who shared my blood. I discovered strength in routines I had ignored, in therapy, in friendships forged outside her orbit. Each day, I breathed a little freer, laughed a little harder, unburdened by her stories. And somewhere in the silence I felt the subtle, unshakable truth. She could no longer shape my world. I had reclaimed it. By summer, the echo of her manipulation had faded in my ears, leaving only lessons. Anchors can drown, yes, but sails carry. I was no longer tied to her storm. I was moving forward, steady and relentless, carrying nothing but myself. And in that, there was justice, not loud, not vengeful, but inevitable. She had built a world around her illusions. I had simply stepped out of it. And when someone finally asked me why I never reached out again, I smiled softly. The truth was enough, and now, it was mine alone.